Hello, Pisces. Great to see you. Well, you're the first reading this month, so I'm very excited about that. I've just been doing some spiritual work, and I'm in the mood. In the mood to do your Pisces October reading using the tarot cards, of course, but as you know, I bring in a lot of astrology, numerology, and little snippets of sacred and mystical knowledge that I am at liberty to share publicly, as well as some other things. Thank you very much for your comments. I really do appreciate it. You know, those of you who are in the United States and Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, India. Very nice to see you again. Thank you for stopping by. And the Philippines, Australia, and New Zealand. I really do appreciate it. You are so generous in your comments, and I love it. Makes me think that I'm doing something worthwhile for you, because I get a lot of pleasure providing these readings for you, and it gives me great happiness to know that you enjoy them. So in that, using that spiritual energy that I've got going now, let me just... Here we go. That's the business. That's what we need. Let's have another great look. What have you got to tell my Pisces friend here? The Spirit. The Five of Cups. The Queen of Wands. What else is here? There's the Knight of Coins. He's always welcome. In my opinion, the Knight of Coins might be somebody you know too. He's got messages for you anyway. There is the Popess. It's going to be a fascinating month for you, I think. And what's this one here? The Pope. You've got the Pope and the Popess. Look, well, I'll bring a lamp and shine it on here so you can see the great artwork on these cards. I haven't read this Popess card before, or this Knight, or this Queen, so this is great. Come on around, sit down next to me, and we'll look at this together, and I'll do the reading for you. All right. Pisces, excellent, here we go. Wow, you've got the Popess and the Pope down the bottom, the Five of Cups. This Five of Cups, incidentally, is being subdued dramatically by the fire of this Queen of Wands, which is a superior card coming up there, and also by this Popess card. But let's have a look at the Popess first, shall we? Don't often see a Popess, do we? We do not. The Popess, there she is. Let me just reach behind me and get my pen, because it will help me to point out some of the features here. Well, the slender young Popess gazes from her throne with serenity and wisdom. Her robes are dark blue, symbolizing feminine intuition, and a crescent moon crowns her tiara. In her right hand is the Book of Life, and the cover is inscribed with the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. In her left hand, a gold key and a silver key. At her breast is a Maltese cross joined with a child's head, referring to the legend of Pope Joan. There has in legend been a pope, a female pope called Pope Joan, which you may or may not have known, but that is a fact. Now, behind her shoulders is a veil supported by the sun and the moon. And let's see, there are rainbows streaming down on either side of them. The archer's column to her left, down here, is supported by a black sphinx with breasts, and that symbolizes the feminine side of life. The fiery column on her right, to me, mystically symbolizes the masculine, and in it are little flames, water drops, a salamander and a bat. The Popess's foot rests on a grass green cushion, and the checkered floor gives way to life and to nature. So what can we say about the Popess for you? Let's pull out a bit now that we've had a look at her, and we can see her in the context of the other cards. Well, the Priestess of the Silver Star is what I call her, and the planet associated with her is that of the moon. The moon represents cycles going with the flow of life. Just having these words that are coming through at the moment, and they are: yet your skin is cool and pale in the moonlight. Not even night can cool the embrace of your arms around me, nor darken the glistening silver-white substance of our love. I close my eyes, and it shields them not. Rather, you grow brighter still. Your eyes lock on mine, unblinking and uneclipsed. O mother, O lover, O child. Yeah. I'd say that you should guard against information which is being withheld at this time. Secrets are about. Be careful of being lied to and of not trusting your intuition. I think that this is a period of great emotional stability for you, nonetheless, I have to say. And what I do have to say is that I think that this can sometimes represent the development of a platonic relationship with somebody. There are other cards here which talk to other things. It may well be a period of alone time to work out what you really want and let your mind process things. You may be beginning a creative cycle, and in particular, I think, asserting independence and your self-esteem is increasing, and you become aware that intuition is a gift. And I think it's also a time for you discovering the oasis within. If I had a thought in mind during this period, it would be: I trust my intuitive abilities. I deeply honor and value the human being that I am. I am intuitive and perceptive. I trust myself, and I honor my sense of integrity. Well, there'll be a period, I think, of going with the flow in life at the present time. I think that independence, some degree of alone time, these are the things that I'm getting from it. It's a very, very powerful card for females, and it is, as I say, extremely powerful card, and it's diluting this Five of Cups up here. But I'll get to the Five of Cups because I want to deal with this card, which is underpinning this column, which is the Pope. And, well, what can we say of the Pope? I think that, of course, this is an Italian Renaissance deck, and Catholicism was all the go, of course, in Europe during that time, in the 1500s, and so we have tales of lady popes and popes. Now, a kind of a really jovial face augments the benevolence of the Pope, yet his hair is white and his face is lined with experience. He raises his hand in a blessing. In his left hand is a staff with the symbols of the planets Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn at the top. And the thunderbolt of Jupiter is at the bottom. The three rings which are on his tiara, do you see them here? The three rings are, first of all, at the bottom is imagery suggestive of the natural world, trees, streams, rocks, things like that. The next one is the crown of thorns of Christ's passion, representing worldly life and free will. And at the top are geometric figures, and to me they represent the spiritual realm, represented by triangles and circles with a cross surrounding the whole. Two pillars behind him are interesting. I've seen them before. I think they're actually in the St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome, and they hold up the canopy which is above the high altar. Yeah. At the foot of the throne, there are some things depicted down here, and they are the 7 vices from left to right: pride, wrath, lust, gluttony, envy, sloth, and avarice. And the Pope, of course, triumphs over the sins of the world. The 2 monks that are down here kneel, one on each side of the platform, and the angle of this throne, to me, seems to be leaning forward, symbolizing what I think is I think what I'd call it the mercy, the benevolence, the receptiveness that inhabits the energy that is surrounding this card. Well, for me, the astrology of this card, I call this card the magus of the eternal gods. It is Venus in Taurus, with the moon exalted. Taurus is earth. It's an earth sign, and that emphasizes the importance of applying one's spiritual realizations in the day-to-day world. See, spirituality is not something you do at your head in a room at night and nowhere else. Spirituality is to be found everywhere. The divinity is everywhere, and living an ordinary life in a good way. That's what the purpose of life is here. I think that this is going to indicate something of a need for you to kind of, unpleasant though it may be, to use this month really to just kind of follow rules and regulations and traditions that are in your life at the moment. I can see it as being a period of great learning. I think you'll be doing a lot of learning during this period. I have these words coming through to me. How are you now, my husband? That is my bride. What word must I remember? Nail me to the door of your enemy, to the door of the marketplace, to the door of your tomb, that, naked and unknowing, even I may be a sign of your devotion to all your lovers. Yeah. I think that this is kind of sticking with the status quo at the moment. Don't go, during this month, don't go initiating any revolutions, either in your personal life or social life or business life. Let sleeping dogs lie with respect to things. I think it could be issues revolving around the family, I think, that need to be integrated. You will be also, I think, called upon to act as a sort of a counselor or teacher or advisor to someone during this period. Do you know? I think people are going to come to you and ask your advice about things. I have this thought in mind that there is only one voice worth listening to, the voice of my heart. I honor the sacred within me. I am inspired by learning and teaching. I am creative and productive in my family and professional life. I think you're going to have a desire to be challenged by new experiences, and you'll be good at listening and speaking, and you are going to want to make your ideas very tangible and usable to other people. Now I'm going to take this weakened card now, this card which has been weakened by this Queen of Wands in fire, because fire and water don't mix. And this moon card here is, if you like, the moon, of course, it has an effect on water and with the tides and what have you, and so it's exerting its influence over this card. But let's have a look at it and see what it does have to say, even though its impact is minimal, I think, in your reading for this month. The Five of Cups. The first thing I'll say about the Five of Cups is, here's the number 5. Well, for me, the 5 has an association with the planet of Mars, which can be quite impersonal, rambunctious, fiery, aggressive, chaotic, prone to exaggeration. And it refers to an energy, I think, which really can sometimes be restrictive. See, you can, for example, say in the 4, have a great outpouring of something to somebody, and yet you can pour too much into someone. Whereas I think what the 5 then does is the 5 then acts to restrict things so that things are kept in balance. The imagery is quite unremarkable, other than to say it looks like an old man, probably the patriarch of a family, on his deathbed, dictating to an attorney his last will and testament. The attorney's taking it with a quill and what have you, and surrounding him with a family, only one of whom seems to be crying into the cup, and the others are all expectant, I suppose, of what they might be able to get out of the death of the old guy, and a child pushing over this cup here, green having a sense to me of renewal, the sparks, it's an energy associated with the planet of Venus, which is about relationship and love, and this is the Suits of Cups, which is very much to do with relationships, I think, among other things. But what this is saying is that the seeds are there now for growth and for new growth after what may be something which, as a resulted from a card which I called the Lord of Loss in pleasure. And I said there was Mars associated with the number 5. Well, I also see the astrology of this card being Mars ruling the first decan of Scorpio, that 23rd of October to the 2nd of November. Now, we'd expect a positive aspect to this card because in classical astrology, Mars rules Scorpio. But we have Mars down here as well, number 5. Scorpio is the water sign, and so we have a double dose of fire and heat, which to me really acts, I think, to evaporate the waters of Scorpio. Yeah. So I think that what we can see is that I think that maybe there has been a time where there is something of a loss in pleasure that's associated with... Let me pull this out so you can see it with the other cards. That there has been, I think, maybe something coming up or has come up recently where things didn't work out as expected, and what this card is, but this is being diminished by those other powers, so it's not going to be earth-shattering at all. But what this card is definitely saying to you, in combination with these other cards, is not to wallow around in self-pity and regret, because new and better experiences are in store. And I also get that feeling from this green liquid coming through here. Green is growth. New things are in store. Look, it's possible for a moment you could become disillusioned with something or with somebody. You might have been feeling disappointed by someone else's actions. Well, find it in your heart to forgive them if you do, because forgiveness releases the person who forgives. See, if you don't, what happens is, back at that time, the time in the past where you have had an event with somebody or with something, and you've dropped an anchor, to use this water analogy. You're on a ship and you've dropped an anchor at the time of the event. Well, if you haven't forgiven the person, you remain anchored in the past. You've remained anchored in the past. Whereas if you pull up that anchor by forgiving, you move on. You are released by forgiveness. And forgiveness, and now it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it can take you 2 or 3 months to really go through the process. You don't need to speak to anybody else about it, though. In fact, often it's better to stay right away from the people who have caused you disappointment. But you'll find that forgiveness releases you, and the benefit to your psychological, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual condition cannot be overstated. It's the best thing to do. There is a reason why all the literature and all the sacred works from around the world always hone in on the necessity to provide forgiveness to people. There is an angel, a center of consciousness, Vavalaya, one of the 72 names of God. I won't go into how they're derived. They come from chapter 14, verses 19 to 21 of the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. That bit to do with the parting of the Red Sea. Another time I'll go into how they're derived. But that angel's name, Vavalaya, one of the 72 names of God, substitutes for the word Lord in another book of that Old Testament, in the Christian Bibles or the Hebrew Bible, called the Book of Psalms. And I'm pretty sure it's Psalm 88, verse 14, which says, "As for me, I cry out to you, O Lord, each morning my prayer greets you." Now, meditating on that unleashes the power of the mind over matter, soul over ego, and the spiritual over the physical. Now, your goal is not to renounce the physical world, but to eliminate its control over you and to become the true captain of your ship, the captain of your fate. Everything for you is possible. Let's have a look at the... Oh, it's already out. What else is there here? Here's the Queen of Wands. Well, let's have a look at the Queen of Wands, and what does she have to say to us? Well, the Queen of Wands, the first thing that I'll say is that esoterically, queens are represented by water, and the suit of wands is, of course, fire. So we have somebody who is the watery part of fire. So we would expect there to be some sort of a conflict in her nature. And in fact, we do see that. Now, who might it be? Well, it could be someone in your life, and if that's the case, well, Wands is a fire sign, but of those, I see it as being somebody who would be probably an Aries, I think. Or do you know what? I think it could actually also be a Pisces. Could be a Pisces, this person here. This could have very, very direct association with you, because Pisces gives her sensitivity and inspiration, and Aries, that sign of Aries that I'm giving, gives her leadership and self-confidence. Well, here there is someone sitting on what is a country sort of a chair, this queen. Her foot is there's a lion underneath her, is a lion's rug. Nice background of verdant, lush pasture with sunflowers growing in it. She has a cat on her lap, a wand in her hand with beautiful flowers going through there. Here is the top of her chair. Here has got the crescent moon going on it. She is very much, well, isn't this interesting, because her dress has got that kind of shape of an anchor to it as well, and she has got the red hair of wands and the fire of wands, and presents as a rather lovely, buxom woman who is always welcome in an artistic sense, of course. Now, What else can we say about her? Well, I think what this is saying is that I think that you are going to present during this month as being someone with great adaptability, as with persistent energy and calm authority, and you are going to have extraordinary powers of attraction. I think you'll be generous, but it's possible that you're going to be intolerant and impatient with any opposition that you might strike during this period. The Queen of the Thrones of Flame. She has an immense capacity for friendship, this woman in this card, but at her initiative, in some respects, there is with her a sort of a self-complacent vanity, even snobbery associated with her, I think. She can brood and come to the wrong decision and then react with savagery. She can be quick to take offense and harbor revenge without good cause. And she can have a case of the blues, which she can try to overcome with the booze, and then can often have panic-stricken outbursts of, well, ill-considered fury, I think. I think that what we'll see here with you is that you will be going through a process of self-discovery and remembering your power. You got to where you are by resolving difficulties in the past, and now you're a stronger character. It's time to express your natural power and beauty and move on from the past. This is a woman who knows what she wants, and she has an active life. And I'll tell you what, I said you're going to have powers of attraction during this month. Well, it is very, very much the case. You are going to be making a very powerful first impression. I would be reminding myself that I am a radiant being filled with light and love. Yeah. I don't think I really need to say anything more about her than that. She is presenting a very well-rounded case as to what is in store for you, I think. And here, then, we have the Knight of Coins. Well, the Knight of Coins, well, esoterically, of course, he is represented by air, and in the suit of coins, which is earth. So we have the airy part of earth, and just as the Queen of Wands had some sort of conflict in her nature, I think this Knight of Coins also has conflict in his nature because air and earth don't get on with one another. Now, the type of person who, I call him the Prince of the Chariot of Earth, and the people who may be important to you, although he's also going to have messages for you, are people are probably Aries or Taurus, or possibly some other earth sign, of course, but probably Taurus of them, and Aries. This is somebody, okay, and here's the messages that he's got for you, saying that this is what's going to be happening, is that you will be energetic, a capable manager and steadfast worker. Now, she can, as we mentioned, fly into a rage. He's actually slow to anger, this guy, but watch out if he does get driven beyond the point. He also is adaptable. He adapts to circumstances. And turns them to his advantage with a slow, steady, well thought out plan. Be careful, though, that your emotional side isn't blunted to other people during this period, because I get the feeling that this guy here can sometimes be seen by other people as lacking in emotion, and that's certainly not the case for you, but it's just something that I would be aware of. I think what he's saying to you is that this is a period of time when you will be taking responsibility for your life and become focused. You might actually get involved in exercise or actually be quite good at sport, I think. You'll be interested in designing things now, building things. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean freeways and bridges, but it can also extend to things around the home. It can extend to fashion, to makeup, to hair, and I think there'll be that interest, that practical aspect of application of things out there is something that I see around you at this time. You will be putting a lot of effort into practical things, I think. Just make sure that, I don't know why it is, but there's just this feeling coming up that there's a possibility that some people may see you as lacking emotional warmth, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case, because there's so much of this woman coming in over the top as well. So the energy that this guy's coming, I think, is being muted by this very fiery person who makes a great first impression on people and who is very attractive to people, which is what you are going to be. But I do think that this is a time in your life when you're going to be goal-oriented and want to sort out the material side of your life, things to do with health or work, running the family, shopping for things that are needed, fixing things up that need to be done, taking care of gardens, that type of thing. These are practical matters, I think, that you may well find yourself engaged in and which you will be very good at. Well, that's the way it is for you this month. Well, there we are. There it is. The month of October for you. I really hope you enjoyed that reading as much as I enjoyed giving it to you. I think it's going to be a fantastic month and you've got great things in store for you, so well done. All I can say is this, is that you've been absolutely brilliant. You've been fantastic, as you always are. And really the only thing that remains for me to say is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, bye for now.